Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rekakwadash. The double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rule well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Aina. The title of this video is Even Then Shall Evils Grow Upon the Earth, Sword, Famine, and Great Confusion. Now, openly, I'm just going to go into a bit of the happenings, things happening, whether say in the news, things like that. I just had a few articles because you know, there's a lot happening. Bible prophecy is happening all around the world. You have everything, the detention centers, Esau trying to take up everyone's else property and belongings. You have him, putting out different decrees, causing, people to, come to harm, right, all around the world. But so just a few prophecies going to touch on. This is Habakkuk 2 and 1. All right, Habakkuk 2 and 1 says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower and will watch to see what he will say unto me and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, um, and the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables that he may run that readeth it. Right, so the brethren are supposed to carry the correct message, right, so others can understand the message. It says, for the vision is yet an appointed time that the end shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Right. And if you're paying attention, we're at the end of things. Right. We can clearly see the fall of Esau Edom. Right. He's back into a corner and he's scratching at, everyone. All right. It says, behold, his soul, the wicked Esau Edom. Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. It says, yeah, also because he transgresses by wine, according to his policy. Right. And he's doing that in a big way with this video I'm about to show you because he's saying the whole Western hemisphere belongs to him. Right. So he's anyone's ships coming into the area, he's taking them up. Regarding the oil, he's taking over Venezuela's oil. Right. He's causing problems with Canada. He's causing problems with Cuba. Right. And he's gonna cause problems with everybody. Right. It says because of his policies. It says, yeah, also he doesn't want no one in his hemisphere doing anything unless he knows about it. And his little brother over there on the east talking about them small hatters, they're concerned with what's happening over there by them. So that's why America's also going to be over there concerned about what's happening, right? But that's going to be their downfall. It says, yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man. Now they keep it at home. Who enlarges his desire as hell and is as death and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. And another big thing with this is that not only is he just saying, he's not saying that the Western hemisphere is his. He's saying basically that's cutting off, trade. It's causing other people to lose money, to lose productivity. They can't do certain things because, even Canada was doing a trade. That's Canada wouldn't do a trade with China. This man said on the news that was good, it was fine. And then afterwards it came back, it's a whole problem, that Canada is now trying to trade with China. So he's cutting people off, causing them harm, killing them basically, trying to stop, you know, people from dealing with their own stuff and basically saying that it belongs to him. All right, even Greenland situation. He wants Greenland because the other people on the west side or the east side is basically able to, come over in the area, wherever the case may be. So everyone sees what this devil is doing. That's why it says in the next verse, Habakkuk 2 and 6, shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that layeth himself with thick clay, right, which is the debt. So these different nations is basically asking, how long is this going to continue? How long are you going to continue to do the things that you do? It says, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for bruise unto them? This is the point. This is what's going to happen, right? The more and more this devil pokes at these different nations, the more and more they're going to eventually get back at him, right? It's going to draw the third chapter, the weak saying that they are strong, right? Because America is a powerhouse of the world, but these little weak nations are going to join forces together and come against America, all right? Because this whole America is just taking everything from everyone, right? It says, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. See, this is all this devil do. Take, 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 take. All right. All right. So getting to this video. Now, this first video here is U.S. captures China's ghost ship. And mind you, this has been going on ever since the first ship was captured. It hasn't stopped. Multiple ships have been captured. Whoever's ship, it could be anybody's ship. America has been capturing it. All right. I don't know the exact number, but I believe it's more than four. Right? They find these ships, and they just follow them, and then they eventually capture them. Right? And they take other people's belongings. Right? And that's a hypocrite right there, because they don't want no one over here, but they're all over there. So those people that they're taking this stuff from is going to be upset about that. All right.
A ship tried to disappear, but the ocean was watching. You're watching Times XP. It's me, Dhrityatri, and across thousands of miles of open sea, a mysterious oil tanker was moving quietly. No spotlight, no public route, no attention at all. But this was not an ordinary cargo ship. This vessel was carrying something far more sensitive. You know what? Hundreds of thousands of barrels of oil from Venezuela heading towards China. And the United States, it was already tracking it. The ship had a name, Aquila II, but in maritime language, it was known as a ghost tanker. Ghost tankers are ships that try to hide their moment. They switch off their tracking systems. In fact, they change the routes very unexpectedly. They sometimes change ownership details or any cargo record. In fact, they operate in the shadow of global shipping, trying to avoid sanctions and surveillance. And Aquila II, it was allegedly doing exactly that. According to US officials, the chase started across oceans, satellites tracking, naval monitoring, and intelligence coordination. Piece by piece, America followed the tanker's hidden journey until finally the ship was intercepted. No missiles fired, no naval battle, no dramatic confrontation here, just a quiet, calculated seizure on international waters. Inside the tanker was a massive energy prize, by the way, about 700,000 barrels of Venezuelan crude oil. Oil that Washington claims was moving in violation of sanctions.
And what's interesting to me is that they said they run Venezuela, but they keep capturing ships that has Venezuelan oil inside of it. Like, I have to look into it. But is it going to Venezuela, filling up, and then leaving? Why not stop it? Beforehand. Maybe it's some type of tactic. And if it is, everyone can see it. But anyway,
Sanctions placed on Venezuela's energy sector. Now, for the US, stopping that cargo was not just about one ship. It was about sending a message. US War Secretary Mr. Pete Hegseth made that message absolutely clear. Well, publicly speaking about the operation, he described the chase with striking confidence. He said that the tanker tried to escape. It ran and we followed. And then came the warning. Ships attempting to bypass sanctions, he said, will eventually run out of options and possibly run out of fuel as well. But this particular story is not just about one tanker. It's about a much bigger global energy battle because Venezuela holds some of the largest oil reserves in the world. But years of US sanctions have restricted its ability to sell that oil freely. Countries buying Venezuelan crude often have to navigate complex political and legal risk. And China has remained one of Venezuela's major oil partner, and this is where global power politics enter the story. While Washington celebrated the seizure, Moscow reacted with strong criticism. Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, delivered a very sharp accusation. He claims that the US is trying to control the global energy supply route. He argued that Washington is using sanctions and maritime enforcement to crush the competitors and expand its influence over world oil market. In simple words, this is not just about sanctions at all.
Exactly. So, they these devils see these devils. Basically, Russia sees what America is doing. All right, they're not invisible. Um, so what else let me grab this? Oh, Isaiah 14. Isaiah 13 and 4 it says, "The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdom of nations gathered together. The Lord Yahweh Bashmiel shall host mustered the host of the battle." Right. So the Most High Yahweh Bashmiel Shah is gathering the nations, right? He's causing these tensions to flare, right? Because what these leaders are doing, they're just arguing, right? They're arguing with each other, and this is what is called a cold war. They're at war, but it's just not. No one's really shooting nobody yet or blowing no one up. And I'm talking about these great powers, right? You have these proxies involved, but the great powers aren't fighting with their weapons yet, right? They're just doing different things. They're doing, different policies. Some policies are ending, right, to make room for other things to happen. NOT, hear the noise on the mountains. Listen as the vast armies march. It is the noise and shouting of many nations. The Lord Yahweh, Bashan Shai of heaven's armies, has called this army together, right? And we know that that's exactly what the Lord is doing. Isaiah 34 and 1, come near ye nations to hear and hearken ye people, let the earth hear and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord Yahweh Bashan Shai is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them, he hath delivered them to the slaughter. And that's exactly what's happening. They're being served up on a golden platter, for the slaughter. That's why they're gonna go out into that Levant region, all right, which is over there near, what they call the Middle East or near Israel, all right. So I have this next video. This is going into what's happening in Cuba because the situation with the oil from Venezuela has stopped. It has caused Cuba to basically shut down, right? And this is another part of America's different policies, right? That's causing this to happen. And this goes into Second Ezra 15, Second Ezra 16.
A nice little palate cleanser. Hopefully that reset your brain a little bit, put you in a decent mood so that I could fucking ruin it. Okay, it's time to ruin your fucking mood. The people in Cuba are starving to death. AOC was asked about this. Here's her response.
Cuba policy has been telling him that they've been in negotiations for a while, but in reality, it's been multiple weeks where that actually hasn't been the case. What's your reaction to that divide on foreign policy within the administration?
Well, I think I have to read the report that you're talking about, but this is what we've seen with Gaza, right? This is a new kind of
MO. This is our modus operandi.
Era of depravity opened up where there used to be, or there was a stated
Yo, AOC, by the way, you could fucking beat me to death, and I would thank you.
commitment on human rights that innocent civilians were almost war from blockades, and what has transpired is that now it's kind of become acceptable that the entire Western world will look the other way as they starve and deprive a people. Because
the one part where I will disagree with AOC on this is that this is not new. This is not the new modus operandi. It's not a new era of degeneracy. It's just that we've pulled back the curtain. We have always turned the other way to genocide. Fuck, we did that during the Holocaust, bro. For years, we were told from Europeans, yo, they're rounding up people and putting them in camps and exterminating us. And we said,
yeah, the Most High Yahweh Bashan Shai is putting that shameful feeling on their glory, and these devils are being found out. All right, yeah, grab this. This is Isaiah 32:5. It says, "The vile person shall no more be called liberal, nor the troll said to be bountiful. For the vile person will speak villainy, and his heart will work iniquity to practice hypocrisy, and to utter error against the Lord Yahweh, Bashmi Abashai, to make empty the souls of the hungry, and he will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail." Now, this, and the lady is going to say, AOC is going to say that this reminds her of Gaza, right? And I brought this precept many times regarding the Gaza situation, and now Cuba is struggling. All right. It says the instruments also the troll are evil. He devises wicked devices to destroy the poor with lying words, even when the needy speaketh right.
Said bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Only until the fucking Soviets actually made their way into those camps, then did we start to believe it. This is what we've always done. We turn a blind eye to the shit that we did in the My Lai massacre. We always turn a blind eye because as long as capitalist pigs are profiting off of the cruelty, it's okay because profit matters more than human life in a capitalist organization of the economy.
They find political actors or political regimes in that country to be objectionable. And so what we are seeing here is the possible precipice of hospitals running out of fuel. You know, we're talking about innocent children, women that could be put in harm's way.
Here's the thing, though, AOC. You're correct. Innocent women and children putting in harm's way over the actions of like our government and their government. But that's the thing. When you talk.
Exactly. All right. Isaiah 10:1, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and the right grievousness which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey and that they may rob the fatherless. Right. And this is exactly what they're doing because a lot of these things they do prescribe. They sit down and think about it. Right. And they come up with the plan and they write it down and they initiate it. And they prescribe these things. Even going back to Psalms 83, when they took crafty counsel against us as a people, right? A lot of these agendas and these different policies that they came out with was always to keep Jake down, all right? But it didn't work, because the elect are back, right? The elect are here, right? And we're returning back to Yahweh, Bashim Shai. The point was to try to destroy us as a people, try to make us forget the name of Israel, but we know who we are, right? We know Yahweh, Bashim Shai, right? We know that we're the Israelites and that he's coming back to destroy this place, right? And that's why we're teaching and preaching, until he returns.
Talk to somebody like Marco Rubio or any of those like Cuban war hawks down in Florida who are working in the War Department. They do not think that there are any innocents in somewhere like Cuba or somewhere like Colombia or somewhere like Venezuela. They believe that simply by being in that nation, you are a threat to democracy, that just existing, being Cuban means that you are a threat. You are an evil communist, right? They don't believe that there is such a thing as an innocent. Where did they learn that? The fucking Israelis. And where did the Israelis learn that? Us. It's the imperial boomerang. What do you think? Israel just spawned in knowing how to do that shit? No, we taught them starting in 1948, and then they mastered it, and now we send our people over there to learn from them. See, the Israelis believe that there are no innocents in Palestine. There are no innocents. They are all terrorists, and even the babies, they are future terrorists. That's what the Israelis believe. We have adopted that mindset when it comes to Latin America, that everyone down there is a future narco-terrorist. That's the mindset of the fucking War Department.
So, again, I have to look at the details of the reporting that you're sharing regarding Rubio specifically, but I think it's incumbent upon all of us to defend human rights no matter where.
Period. All right, let's start looking at this. How the U.S. weaponizes starvation and aid in Gaza and Cuba. In both Cuba and Palestine, the United States is deploying its barbaric methods of producing mass suffering in order to bring about the political and economic submission. Now, we've talked about this before. There are 5 steps to a coup d'etat, and we will coup d'etat Cuba. We want it to coup d'etat.
All right, so as you can see, they're bringing that destruction and turmoil and chaos to Cuba. All right. And, that goes directly into 2nd Ezra 16, 2nd Ezra 15. 2nd Ezra 17 says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days, right? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague and tribulation, Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for a minute. But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Right. And that's why the scriptures talk about gross darkness to people. Right. And especially our people, hard headed and stiff necked, sottish children. Isaiah 60. Says Isaiah 61, Isaiah 60 and 1, arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord Yahweh Bashem is risen upon thee. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord Yahweh Bashem shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. All right, so the rest of these individuals around the world, some of them is probably still waiting for things to get better. Some are still hoping in the left and right of the Democratic and Republican Party, right? Trying to put someone who's doing office, right? They think there's some type of way that Babylon can be healed, and there is no way. All right, the only thing we can do is have Yahweh Bashem Yahushua destroy this bitch, right? It says 2 Ezra 16 and 19, behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for a minute. But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Behold, victual shall be so good cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. Right, and you got to understand this thing is happening systematically, right? One day Venezuela and Cuba, they was good. They were getting oil, everything was good. America came over there, they said it was so quick, lightning fast. America took Maduro up out of there, arrested him and his wife, took control of the oil, supposedly, I guess. I don't know, but obviously they're doing something with the oil. And now Cuba is free. So one day he was eating mangoes and eating some good food and whatever, flying. Now you're not. It says, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. And this is what's happening. And it's the beginning stages, of course. Right now, they don't have fuel to travel. They're declining travel and things like that. But it's going to increase. With America, the tariff situation, a lot of these corporations and companies and whatnot, the merchandise that they have bought, they had stocked up for, they was actually paying for the tariffs. But now they're saying that they're going to have to restock. And when they pay for it this time, it's going to be attached with all those tariffs, which is basically a tax for us when we buy things. It's going to cost a lot more now, right? And mix that with the fact that people are already getting fired, people are already homeless, scraping by. You standing on the corner asking for $2 or whatever the case may be, ain't gonna help no more, because the bread sandwich that you get that costs $2 is gonna cost $20 now, right? And the people that you gain money from, the sandwich that they get that already costs $20 is gonna cost them $80, whatever the case may be. All right, it says, and the dead shall be cast out as dung. It's gonna be that much death with dead bodies all over the place. And there shall be no man to comfort them, for the earth shall be wasted, and the city shall be cast down. Right, complete trouble, turmoil, right? Just craziness. This is 2 Ezra 15 in verse 14. Now I skipped ahead. He mentioned I mentioned it too. The situation regarding this. Let's play real quick.
President Donald Trump is doubling down with a threat to shut down a multi-billion-dollar bridge between the U.S. and Canada before it even opens. As Mike Emanuel reports, the bridge dispute comes amid tensions over tariffs.
As the tariff war heats up, President Donald Trump is talking tough on Canada. The president's pushing the Canadian government ahead of trade talks by threatening to block the opening of the Gordie Howe Bridge, which connects Detroit to Windsor, Ontario. He wrote on social media, quote, "I will not allow this bridge to open until the United States is fully compensated for everything we have given them," and referenced an impending trade deal between Canada and China, which he opposes. But on Tuesday, the White House reframed the president's threat, saying it's all about leveling the playing field.
The United States needs to make sure that it has its fair share of any proceeds from that bridge and the economic activity that it generates.
President Trump says both sides will enter negotiations.
Yeah, so he mad about the fact that Canada is trading with China, which, I don't know who the fuck is going to Canada, who would care, about the bridge personally, but they argue regardless. Second Ezra chapter 15, the point I wanted was at 17 because of the bridge, but all of this is included because also in the next video, Cuba ain't flying nowhere. All right, Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 14. Woe to the world and them that go therein, for the sword and their destruction draws nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and sword in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city, and shall not be able, for because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. All right, and man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy the houses with the sword, and spoil their goods, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation.
Now to a developing story. Cuba in crisis. The island is warning airlines they're no longer able to refuel there because they're nearly out of fuel. CBS News Miami's Maribel Rodriguez is your reporter at Miami International Airport tonight. Maribel?
Well, Lauren, I can tell you that Air Canada has already suspended 16 of their weekly flights to Cuba because, as you mentioned, the lack of aviation fuel. Here at Miami International Airport, we asked what's going on with their flights. They say the flights to Cuba from MIA are not being impacted because it's a short distance from Miami to the island. But nonetheless, this energy crisis is not only affecting flights, but also the people in Cuba. CBS News spoke with passengers arriving to MIA from Cuba Monday. They say the situation there is getting worse by the day. There are more blackouts than ever, and getting essentials like food, medicine, and gas is becoming more difficult to get.
I had to call like 10 people because they said, I don't have gas. I don't have a way to take it to the airport. So, and I found one, and that one said that he bought the gas for like $4 of the liter.
President Trump recently signed an executive order threatening to impose tariffs on countries pro to Cuba, which was grappling an energy crisis. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum condemned the tightening of U.S. sanctions against Cuba, stating that imposing tariffs on countries that send oil to Cuba is deeply unfair. On Sunday, the Mexican government sent more than 800 tons of aid to Cuba on board 2 Mexican Navy ships. One of the ships transported basic food, which included liquid milk, meat products, cookies, beans, rice, water, vegetables, as well as personal hygiene items. The other ship transported 277 tons of powdered milk.
Con los carros estatales, tratar de trasladarle el personal en ellos, porque no tenemos petróleo, no tenemos nada, todo está parado.
Yeah, people are struggling coming to a city near you. So, Shalom to the hopeful elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom. Lord willing, this video is edifying. Shalom.